Hi everybody, hope you're all feeling okay. It's a beautiful sunny day today, just on my way home from work. Been busy, so I haven't really been able to keep tracks on the comings and goings at Hotspur Way. But seeing as how my phone's been fairly quiet on the WhatsApp front from my friends around and about who support Tottenham as well, I'm assuming that after 600 days we still don't have a manager to look after our once great football club. So I watch a fair few YouTubers and stuff like that, and listen to podcasts and stuff to try to see what other people think, and the reason why I do that is just to see whether I'm totally out of track with everybody else, whether my views are, somehow skewed to what everybody else is thinking. There's some great guys out there. If you're not watching videos, certainly Chris Callan, who I appear with quite regularly, is a great YouTuber. Gets lots and lots of detail. I had Fabrizio Romano on with him recently, and a guy called the Boy Hotspur, who I highly recommend because he's very straight talking, says it as he sees it, but does also back it up with a fair amount of facts and stuff like that. Does a lot. He does a blog, theboyhotspur.com, I believe. Anyway, so if you've not seen his videos, he's always worth checking out, because he does some decent stuff and gives some decent views. Certainly from my point of view, because I tend to find that I agree with him most of the time. Anyway, I was watching his video yesterday, and he was talking about Conte and this, that, and the other. And I've never really been one for doing lots of research or anything like that, but in my mind, my first reaction to the talk of Conte was, oh, here we go, another ex-Chelsea manager, another guy who's coming from Italy, and we know the football in Italy is rather defensive and all the rest of it. And in my mind, I was thinking, yeah, he won the Premier League with Chelsea. Yeah, he won the FA Cup, got the sack. But my understanding at the time, and I may be totally wrong, and this is why I kind of looked into it a little bit, was that he was very defensive and his football was boring, and that's why Abramovich sacked him, because he didn't like the style of football that was being played. Lots of other people, and this is where looking at other people's YouTubes and Twitter and that kind of stuff comes from. A lot of these people talk about him being super defensive, needing loads of money, all that kind of stuff, and so I'm kind of like, well, I haven't really got an opinion one way or the other, like a strong one, and there's lots of people talking about the merits of Conte as a manager, and people getting sort of excited about it. It's not going to be Pochettino, which I said I didn't think it would be Pochettino. Then Conte is the next best thing that people would want for those that wanted Pochettino. So cutting a long story short, which I haven't, but trying to, did a little bit of research, just read up on him, his football philosophies and what he's been like, how he's been at other clubs and stuff like that. And to be fair, when I look at what's being said, he doesn't come across as an ultra defensive coach. He builds his teams on a defensive platform, in that, he expects the defence to be super strong and everything else. But for him, it's about the engine room in the midfield, and winning the ball back quickly, high press, that kind of stuff. I also read a fair bit about his tactical awareness is really good, that he can alter his tactics to suit the players that he has, and that kind of stuff. So everything I was reading was to be fair, was fairly positive. So I'm not here to tell you that Conte is the next best thing and that he will be a massive success. But it did kind of change my mind a little bit about he's going to be sort of super defensive, boring football, Mourinho type. Because I think from what I'm reading, that sounds a little bit unfair on him. That he's not really that kind of manager. He's not really a defensive-minded manager. And so, to a certain extent, it kind of allayed my fears a little bit. Because I'm an old guy. I go to sleep, I wake up the next day, and I've forgotten what happened the day before. So, in my mind, I was just thinking, he was at Chelsea. Chelsea owner didn't like the style of football, got rid of him. But that seems to not be the whole story. I mean, if you look at Milan, they hadn't won anything for a long time. He come in and he's just won the league. So that's kind of speaks volumes. And obviously had a really successful time with Juventus, having been a really successful player with Juventus. And he also won a promotion with one team from Serie B and won the Serie B league with another. So he's obviously got a decent pedigree, and he's one of these guys that's considered one of the elite managers around and about. So if you're Daniel Levy and you're trying to take Tottenham to the next level, then to a certain extent you've got to be fishing in that pond. Should you be fishing in the pond of, with all due respect, Harry Potter and Scotty Parker? And yes, I do know that I said Harry Potter. So should he be fishing in that pond, or should he be fishing in the elite pond? It would seem like it's the sort of person they would go for. Bit concerned that it's taken so long for us to get there for this guy, which seems to me to suggest that there wasn't a plan when they sacked Mourinho, unless that plan was to go through lots and lots of applicants and see what they actually wanted. I don't know. I still don't believe that Pochettino was ever really in the frame. I think that was put out there just to appease the fans and calm people down. And I know that sounds a little bit ridiculous and a little bit conspiracy theory, but I won't put anything past these sort of people in the media or associated with football to put out those kind of stories to quell the masses, So watching Chris Cowling's video, Fabrizio Romano spoke very highly of Conte, talked about his relationship with the other guy, director of football, which they were talking about, whose name I can't say, but I know starts with a P. It all sounds really positive. Conte is the sort of guy who's interested in winning straight away, achieving success straight away, but at the same time having a longer term project that is going to lead somewhere, as in European success and so on. So not necessarily someone who's just coming for the final 5 minutes just to grab a trophy and jog on again, which is what some people have also suggested. So everything kind of sounds, in the right direction. I know we're talking about, playing the Tottenham way and all the rest of it, but let's be fair. We haven't played the Tottenham way since probably, the 60s. It's always been, it's all well and good playing with flair and all the rest of it. But if you're not winning anything, it's not going to happen, is it? So it'd be really interesting. It'd be really interesting to see how this goes. Now, the latest detail that I've seen is suggesting that there is a stumbling block. It's not about his money. It's not about Harry Kane or particularly funds as such, but more to do with kind of long-term project of what they're going to do, what they're going to aim for. So we'll see. But this is a big turning point for Daniel Levy, because if he doesn't actually get someone of this calibre, and there's not many of them about now, when you consider, Mourinho we've had, and he's gone somewhere else. Pochettino's staying at PSG, and for me, he's still not quite elite yet. He's on his way, but not quite yet. You know, and then you've got, you know, these other guys, Ten Hag, and I can't think of the other guy's name, but they're all kind of committing themselves to big German clubs and that kind of stuff. And even with, excuse me, even with, his name's gone right out of my head now, but the one who went from Everton to Real Madrid, how ridiculous is it that I've forgotten his name? Those kind of elite managers, or those that are winning all the time, are kind of disappearing, you know, or committing. So he hasn't got a lot that he can really go for. So he's kind of stuck with where he is. So if he doesn't get someone like Conte, then we really are not fishing in the right pond, and it could be a long wait before we get back to the kind of levels that we had been having just prior to Mourinho. So it is a bit of a worry, I've got to be honest, as to where we go from here. But of course, as I'm doing this video, Antonio Conte could be signing on the dotted line, and and actually joining the club as we speak. But I guess only time's going to tell, and we'll see where that hands up. But I guess the point of the video is to basically say, think Antonio Conte sounds like he's got something about him. He is an elite coach, and he has got a little bit more about him than maybe my tiny mind had given him credit for straight away. There may be a little bit more around playing certain ways, being tactically aware, not necessarily just being a spend merchant. And maybe he is the right one to go for, and I guess time will tell. And just to finish off by saying that I do remember it's Carlo Ancelotti, but for some reason driving, talking seems to have made it quite difficult for me today with my multitasking. So apologies for that, and so apologies for it being a little bit of a ramble. I know what I meant. You probably don't get it, but I know what I meant. So I'll leave it there. Keep safe, everybody. Up the Spurs.